Let's talk about where we are with the ratings. SmackDown on May 27th gets a 292 rating. Raw does a 3.52 rating. And we're starting the Raw Diva Search here. It was originally planned for SmackDown. And I guess the idea is the other channels at the time. There's a top reality show at the time called America's Next Top Model. And we're looking for programming like that on a station like UPN. But that was the original plan. We know that ultimately it winds up being on Raw. Did you think that the Raw Diva Search had a place on television? I mean, I understand that a generation later, a decade later, buddy, it is just huge ratings for TNA. Anytime they have the knockouts do anything, it's always the top quarter hour. Is that the strategy here with the Raw Diva Search, or is it leaning more into, hey, this reality show competition thing is working everywhere else? Let's bring some of that into WWE as well.
All the above. All the above. And also looking at it as a national pursuit talent search to see, maybe look, we can find some talent out of this. And the reality show concept, the reality show contest, if you will, competition, that was doing well. That was doing well in television. That became the go-to. People always want, oh, what's my competition show I'm going to come up with? And we were looking at it as that, whereas other competitions, somebody wins. So you win American Idol. Okay, great. You pretty much go away and you do your album and you tour and that's it. But you don't get to follow them really, unless you're a really, really strong fan of them in particular. Here, with the talent search, whoever wins that, they're going to be a part of the programming going forward. So that was the plus, is you get new talent, and not just the winner. We were looking at all the talent coming through as to what we could do. Who has that special thing? Whether they win or not, it didn't matter. Because if they had something, we were going to sign them. We were going to do something with them. So that was the thinking behind it.
Let's also mention that this is the era where Vince is still trying to build that library. So JR is going to meet with Kevin Von Erich to talk about World Class. And there's even been some discussions about acquiring the Mid-South library. And I know that you just a few minutes ago were talking about the network and saying, guys, that's been in play for a long time. I know it didn't come out until 10 years later. Well, here's the proof. I mean, they were actively trying to assemble all of these tape libraries. Is there one that you wish WWE could have gotten? It just wasn't possible, or did WWE get it all?
The boy, I'm trying not to get myself in trouble here.
I would have liked to have seen you guys get Memphis, but nobody really had a clear understanding of where all the Memphis tapes were and who owns them all.
Oh, there's a clear understanding.
Okay.
But the Memphis thing, that's been well documented and chronicled over the years, as far as who has what, who sold what to who got sued. And I don't know. I think that the people that ended up with it know they got screwed, and I think are just trying to make something out of it that they were promised, and it's just not worth what they think it's worth. And again, it's subjective. So I have a dear friend of mine that had a pen collection. These incredible fountain pens and things that were used to sign, treaties and things like that, and all the documentation, worth millions in what they paid for it. At one point, they wanted to sell this pen collection, and I was involved in documenting and trying to sell the collection. And they wanted, oh my God, they basically wanted what they put into it. Okay. Several $1 million. I think the final figure was like $5 million. for pens. No, the Pope, signed this with this pen, and it's all documented. And you have the Pope's signature and the part of the pen and all this crap. Cool if you're a pen collector. But the pen collector doesn't want to pay like retail, if you will, what these things originally went for. You would think that things like that, they would go up in value. But they're only worth what someone is willing to pay. I may look at Maurice Tillet's bust in there and go, yeah, to me, that's a $100,000 item. Somebody else may look at it and go, I'll give you $1,500. So now I've got to make the decision, whose value am I going to consider?
Right.
I think $1,500 is way too low. That's not a real thing because to me, it's priceless and I wouldn't sell it. But the pens were, it came down to a guy offered us $350,000 and he was highly insulted, the owner. And I said, well, he goes, it's worth much more than this. I said, yeah, it's really worth what? I said, I've dealt with literally the top 10 pen collectors in the world. Imagine trying to find that. And this is their offers. This is the best offer. So in the tape world, in the library world, they're worth what somebody's willing to pay for them, not what you think they are. And in dealing with a lot of these guys and in dealing, the Von Erichs, I think, were somewhat reasonable. But, the Watts family thought they were worth a great deal more than what they were. The Texas tapes, Paul Bosch and them, they thought that it was, worth a certain amount, but I had gone in and negotiated on the side to the Houston library to say, hey, could we do this? And the reasoning for it was because the Houston library from 1983 to 87 had all the Mid-South stuff on it because that was part of Houston. So you could have gotten a big chunk of the Mid-South stuff by buying the Houston library. And that fell through because JR wanted to get the Mid-South library from the Watts because, by God, the Watts, they're the Watts, it's Cowboys family and all that shit. On the side, again, I'm getting phone calls from other family members in the Watts family that was trying to be reasonable to sell. They were like, what's the price, man? What are you guys willing to pay? And I'm going to Vince. Hey, I know JR is dealing with Eric and Anna, but there are other family members that are in control of this thing, and here's where they're at. And I think feelings got hurt and kind of fell apart until it didn't much later on. But I think that there were times where you're sentimental, man. This means so much. We have to have this. We got to do that. That it takes away from, but what's it really worth? And it's only worth what somebody's going to pay. And when you're representing the guy buying it, you want to go in and get it for the best price that you can. And you don't want to overpay. But when you go in saying, hey, I want to overpay for this, and then they go, oh, well, if they're willing to pay that, then we want this. And it becomes a shit show. And I think it became a shit show.